What's up everyone, Cato the Elder here, back again with another history video. Today we're going to be talking about why Hitler's invasion of the Soviet Union was doomed to fail. But first, smash that like button down below. It's free and it really helps the channel out. Without further ado, let's begin. The popular history of the war likes to portray the Soviet Union as this behemoth with nigh limitless manpower, throwing wave after wave of Russian soldiers at terribly outnumbered Germans, but it's a bit of an exaggeration. In fact, at the start of Operation Barbarossa, the Germans outnumbered the Soviet Union with about 3.8 million Axis soldiers against around 2.7 million Soviet soldiers. Millions of soldiers were drafted to fight, but it takes time to train, equip, and deploy so many men. By 1943, the Soviet Union gained a decisive numerical advantage, but until 1944, it rarely got over 2-1. After Stalin came to power, the Soviet Union picked up where Tsarist Russia left off and underwent rapid industrialization. By the beginning of World War II, their industrial base was matched only by Germany and surpassed only by the United States. When Barbarossa began, not only did the Soviet Union tanks outnumber their German counterparts, but they were of a general higher quality. This included 1,861 KV-1 and T-34 tanks, the most effective in the USSR's arsenal. The German general Rainer Stahel said, "The qualitative advantage of these Soviet tanks was enormous. In practical terms, it meant that none of the German tanks, regardless of armament, could penetrate the armor on the T-34 at ranges above 500 meters. Indeed, only the later models of the Mark III, equipped with 5cm L/42 main guns, could effectively penetrate the armor of the T-34 at less than 500 meters. The KV-1 was simply impervious to all tank-mounted German firepower, as well as the standard 3.7cm anti-tank guns issued to infantry divisions. The Germans took influence from Soviet designs, but production was kneecapped by the overcomplicated nature of many of these designs. The Soviet Union, on the other hand, focused on quantity over quality. Soviet designers were encouraged to build armaments suitable for mass production and simple enough to be operated by troops with a low level of technical skills. Germany's lack of resources is often exaggerated. They had domestic coal deposits, access to iron ore in Sweden, bauxite in Yugoslavia, tungsten in Spain, and chrome from Turkey. What they really lacked was oil. Their greatest source was Romania. Over 1/3 of their oil supplies came from the Ploesti oil fields. Hitler had hoped to penetrate deep into Russia and take the Russian oil fields in the Caucasus, but that never materialized. Funnily enough, the Axis was sitting on a sea of oil in Libya, and exploration in the late 1930s by the Italian geologist and cartographer Ardito Desio led to the discovery of natural oil in Libya's subsurface, but further exploration was put on hold by the war. The German military tradition has its roots in 18th century Prussia, a small German state surrounded by large hostile enemies. Because they were surrounded by countries with greater resources and manpower, German officers developed military doctrines designed to win quick, decisive victories before their larger enemies, like France, Austria, and Russia, could bring the full weight of their resources to bear. The Germans in the early stages of World War II sought to concentrate firepower with tanks, artillery, and close air support on the weakest parts of their enemy's line. Tanks would penetrate and drive deep into the enemy rear areas to disrupt their logistics and communication centers. These tanks would be followed up by motorized and mechanized infantry units. This worked very well in France. Over 1/3 of Europe is Russia. Because of the size of the country, the Russians had the strategic depth necessary to trade land for time. Barbarossa was initially very successful, but as they pushed deeper into the Russian hinterland, the offensive began to wane. France, with Paris and its industrial heartland in the north, was much more vulnerable to this kind of attack. These problems were only magnified by the Rasputitsa, the Russian muddy seasons. Lebensraum, living space. Almost all of Hitler's decisions in the run-up to and during World War II goes back to this. Hitler was ideologically driven by his disdain for Slavs, his hatred of communism, and his desire to achieve land to populate with the Germans. He saw Russia as a primary target. For Germany to be a superpower, they needed to dominate Europe. Russia had the land and resources that his empire would need. In 1917, surrender was an option for the Russians. The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk that ended Russia's involvement in the Great War was harsh, but ultimately, Russia would continue to exist. The Russians in World War II were fighting a war for their very survival. Not only did this help Soviet propagandists, but it meant that Soviet politicians and soldiers were much less likely to seek peace terms. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in hearing a video about World War I, let me know in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe. Have a nice day.
Когда нас бой пошлет товарищ Сталин, и первый маршал